Hello, this is Jacqueline from Jack Knits, where I do instructional videos all about knitting and crocheting. Now today we're going to take a look at a very basic foundational crochet stitch called the single crochet. It's one of the basic stitches that you'll need to learn as a beginner crocheter. So let's begin. All right, let's begin by looking at the single crochet stitch here. With any type of crochet project, we are going to want to start with a foundational chain. Now the foundational chain is a chain of stitches which you will be using to insert your hook into in your first row of stitches. So let's begin our foundational chain by creating a slip knot. Put your yarn over your hand like this and create a loop or circle around your fingers, and then bring that working yarn behind that circle. Grab it with your crochet hook and pull it tight, and then pull on the working part of your yarn to make it a little bit snug onto your hook. You don't want it too tight, give it a little breathing room, but bring it right up to your hook here. Now we're going to take our working yarn here and wrap it around our pinky. That's what I like to do to give it a little tension, and then we are going to start our chain. To do that, we're going to take our hook and wrap it underneath our working yarn in this fashion. Grab that yarn with your hook and pull it through that loop that you created with that slip knot. And that created one working foundation chain. Now we will do that again. Wrap it under our yarn, pull that yarn through that loop on your hook, and now we've completed two chains. Wrap it underneath, pull that yarn through that loop, and you've created three chains. So we're going to do that until I've got a nice amount of stitches on for my chain here. Let's do 15. Let's see, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, so this is where I'm going to be inserting my hook for my first row. I've got 15 stitches, and I'm always going to want to make sure I've got 15 stitches going forward. But to start with my single crochet, I'm going to need to make one extra chain. So I'm actually going to have 16 chains completed, but this last chain that I did does not count as a stitch in your total stitch count. So let's start with our very first single crochet. You will notice here on my chain of foundation chains that I've got these series of V's, these stitches that look like V's with a bottom leg and a top leg of each stitch. So we are going to be putting our hook around that upper leg of each stitch. Okay, so you can kind of see where we're going to be putting our stitch. That's where we're going to insert our hook. And we are going to do our first stitch not in this very first chain, but in the second chain. This first chain, as we mentioned, does not count as a stitch. We're going to be starting our first chain in this second one from the hook. So let's insert our hook in that for that top V of the stitch. Grab our yarn again like we did with our foundational chain. Pull it through that stitch. Now I've got two loops on my hook. I'm going to do another yarn over here and then pull my hook through both of those loops on the hook, and that completed one single crochet. All right, let's do that again, and let's look at where we're going to put our next stitch. See this big gap here, this big hole? That's where we just completed our first stitch. So we don't want to go in there again. We want to go in the next stitch, which is this next V here, and insert it again where we're picking up that top leg of that V. So we insert our hook there, wrap our yarn around the hook, bring it through that stitch, yarn over again, and bring it through both of the loops on your hook. And there's another single crochet. So let's do another stitch. We are going to insert it into this next stitch, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through both loops. Insert it into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch, another yarn over, and pull through both loops. All right, so that is the single crochet. I'm going to do this to the end of this row. but I want you to pay attention when I get to the end of where we're going to put our last stitch. That is very important. Sometimes it's often missed. So let's, I'm going to just fast forward here a little bit, and I'll see you at the end where we're going to show that last stitch. All right, I'm coming to the very end of my chain here. You can see that I've got 2 stitches left. I've got 1 V and then this last V, which is kind of capped by my knot here. So let's make sure I get into those last 2 stitches, the second to last stitch, and then the very last stitch. Make sure you don't forget that last stitch. All right, so that completed 1 row of my single crochet. Now we're going to be ready to turn our work and do that single crochet on the way back. Before we turn it, however, we are going to do another chain. That just gives us the stitch for our turn. That does not count as a stitch. So now we are going to be placing our first stitch of our second row, not in that chain that we did, but in this very first full stitch that you see here. Now you can see with our little V stitches for this next round, that's not done on our foundational row, but it's done on our first row of stitches. We are going to now insert our hook through both of those legs. Okay, so not just the top V like we did with our foundation, but through both of those V's of that stitch. So insert our hook, wrap the yarn, or basically you're just kind of grabbing that yarn. You can call it a yarn over, but if you insert it underneath that yarn, you're just kind of basically grabbing it and pulling it through your stitch. Then we're going to do another yarn over and pull it through both of your loops on your hook. So just the same as we did with the foundation chain, but now we're just kind of remembering that we're going through both of those V's of that stitch. Insert, pull it through, yarn over, pull through both. Insert it, grab that yarn, pull it through, yarn over, pull through both loops. Insert it, grab the yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So let me again go to the end of this row and just show you again the last stitch, so it's very clear on which stitch you want to end each row with. All right, we're coming now towards the end here. You can see that I've got 1 full stitch here, but here, so let's do that one a minute. But here is that last stitch, and again you can see that I've got 2 legs there, and it's kind of capped with a little end there. So that's the very last stitch that we want to use. Let's insert it, do that last single crochet, and then we can ready to do the next row, which we would chain 1 again. And then when you turn it, you would go into that very first full stitch, not the chain, but the very full stitch to continue your next row of single crochet. So that is the single crochet. Here you can see what it looks like when you have several rows in. It's a very pretty stitch. You're going to use it again and again in many crochet patterns. So I hope you like this video. Give it a like and you can reference it at any time in the future. Also, if you subscribe, you'll get notifications on future videos all about knitting and crocheting tips and tutorials. Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy crocheting.